Hey guys, what is going on? It is Crypto Bobby. Hope you are having a great day, great night. What is up, Team US Crypto Baller? F this drunk G-Cough. Thank you. Yeah, I'm drinking Diet Pepsi, so really getting hammered tonight. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate the fantastic welcome to another episode of Crypto Happy Hour, and Happy New Year to you, buddy. So let's kick things off with a bang. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to join, and let's get things rolling. Hope you guys had a fantastic day, fantastic night so far, and a good start to the new year. So appreciate all you guys and kind of everything that you guys bring to the table. Looks like we already got a bunch of people in here, so appreciate all the time there. Andy and Ryan Wright, hope you guys are having a great day. Yeah, Cardano is crushing it all over the place today and just going absolutely nuts. Ethereum has kind of kicked off a nice little bit of an altcoin rally as well. I mean, we got Ethereum at over 870 at this point in time, so that's been pretty fantastic to see and really leading a lot of altcoins to just continually crush it. Would love to know where you guys are watching in from, as well as what you might be drinking tonight. Like I said, I'm going crazy with some Diet Pepsi right now. Had a couple beers at happy hour at happy hour with actual human beings in person. I know you guys are actual human beings in real life as well, but taking a look at some of these questions here. So, dude, what's up, Coiny McCoinface? Good to see you. Hope you had a great New Year. Godzilla, what is up, dude? As well. So we'll pop over to, I haven't had a chance, so I was taking a look at the charts really all over the place kind of after work, and then got happy hour, got a chance to meet up with a few different people in Manhattan, which was cool, and then ended up coming home. So haven't got a chance to see what's going to happen in the past 2-3 hours or so. So I'm excited to see what's going on and kind of what's rolling in the crypto world. Let's see. I mean, in the past 24 hours, obviously Tron has continued to crush it. Its all-time high was today. It's down about 17% since then. Steam is down 15% since the all-time high. Civic has had a nice run today as well, up 23%. So some pretty significant moves in the, let's see here. Somebody said turn on slow chat, so I just turned on slow chat. I have no idea what that means or whatever. Ty Lopez ad before Bobby went live. What's up, Ty? Lambos. Guys, I'm ready to talk about some knowledge here in my garage. So Ben Collins, appreciate that super chat. Let's talk about Cardano and Ethos. So Cardano has crushed it recently. It's selling off a little bit, actually a decent amount in the past hour or so. It was up all the way to 0.00058, down a tiny bit. But Cardano, I mean, if we're looking at the one-day charts in Bittrex, we'll pull up it in Bittrex. Cardano is basically at an all-time high. You look at it in US dollar tether, which hasn't been trading in USDT that long, but that's been crushing it in USDT as well. So that is something that's just, Cardano is kind of, I wouldn't say completely shocked me, but as far as how well Cardano's done, it's pretty insane. So it has been, it's been nuts to watch. I mean, I've been pretty happy about that. And I mean, I got in at 3 cents. I bought more at 15 cents, and I bought more at 40 cents. So that is something that I've just been like, it's kind of been a little bit mind-blowing for me and a little bit scary in terms of how much of the portfolio is actually fiat-wise in Cardano right now. But I feel fairly confident in it long-term, so I'm excited about that. Luke, what is going on, my man? Appreciate that super chat as well. Almost at 100,000 subs. Yeah, it's crazy. I do appreciate that. And everybody who's subscribed to the channel, if you're not, would love for you to throw a subscribe and hit the notify bell, just so anytime I do one of these YouTube live crypto happy hours, you can join. But for all you guys that are subscribers, it's it's mind-blowing that there's anywhere near that, if that there's 100 people out there that care what I have to say. So I really do appreciate each and every one of you. But so Luke had mentioned trying to get to a $100,000 portfolio. Thoughts on Vechain, undervalued. Also Rec. Personally, I am a fan of Vechain. I have a decent amount of my portfolio in Vechain. It's gone up quite a bit since then. So, I mean, from an overall valuation perspective, I'm not buying more Vechain for the time being, but it's basically at an all-time high right now. I got in towards the end of November, December, when it was a sub $75 million market cap, under 30 cents, I believe, was when I got in. And it's kind of taken off quite a bit since then, following the news of the rebrand and a lot of other things as well. So I'm a fan of Vechain. I don't know if it's at $740 million in market cap. So I don't know if it's completely undervalued right now. I do have a tendency, I mean, as far as things go, I personally have a tendency to underestimate how far things can pump. I've underestimated how far Ryblock's pumped. I underestimated how far Ripple pumped. I underestimated how far a lot of things pumped. So I'm just kind of holding on to Vechain for the time being, and that's kind of the way I'm rolling with things at this point in time. Jason, what's up? Thanks for the sub. New Orleans bourbon on the rocks. That sounds delicious. I might hop in for some bourbon at some point in time later, as we as we continue to go through this. Somebody said take off slow mode, so yeah, why not? We'll take off slow mode. Let's see what's up. So looking at Jared, at what point do you rebalance XRB overload for the win? So I haven't done a massive rebalance yet in terms of really anything. Luckily I've been able to dollar cost average my way in, and that's kind of my way of rebalancing, is on a daily basis. Basically, I'm buying more crypto, and I'm not necessarily selling certain crypto assets when I'm moving them around. I'm kind of just buying more where I see I want more exposure. So I'm not necessarily selling to move it into one place or another. I'm able to kind of buy, which is not necessarily the same situation for everybody else, but at this point in time, that's kind of what I'm looking at doing, is rebalancing through purchasing and not necessarily selling one asset to rebalance into the other. I'm buying more of one asset or opening a position in one asset, unless, of course, I want to sell that. So Cardano is something, though, that I'm looking at. I don't necessarily want to say I'm overexposed, but I'm a lot more exposed to Cardano than I am any other quote-unquote altcoin, which is interesting to say the least. Randy Sherrill, what's going on, dude? Total crypto newbie with a few K in the market. Tell me more about cold storage. So Cardano, why did I just say Cardano? So Ledger Nano S is one aspect of cold storage that I utilize as a hardware wallet. On the other end of the spectrum, there's Treasure, there's KeepKey, there's a lot of other hardware wallets out there at this point in time. So that is something that I think hardware wallets and cold storage, essentially cold storage means that it is not it is not constantly access the internet. There's no constant access to the internet. So a hot wallet is something that is always open to the internet. If that access to that hot wallet per se, that quote unquote hot wallet, it's always able to be accessible by the internet. So if somebody were to hack your wallet, they would have access to your funds at any given time, 24/7. Cold storage, basically, once it's unplugged from your computer, or if it's not available, nobody is able to hack it unless it's plugged into your computer. And even then, hardware wallets have things in place where you cannot access that cryptocurrency, even if your computer is infected. So I do think cold storage is a fantastically useful piece of technology, and I also believe that it is something that you should definitely utilize. So I'm a big fan of cold storage, big fan of hardware wallets, and I think if you have any amount of money in crypto that you feel uncomfortable losing, you should not have your money in hot wallets. You shouldn't have your money lying around on some software wallet on your laptop. You should have it in cold storage on a hardware wallet, and taking the proper safety precautions to not lose your money, because you're watching a video right now about how to make money, so why would you want to lose money? Don't do that. Don't be an idiot. But by you asking that question, Randy, I'm sure you're taking those precautions or learning how to take those precautions. So good on you. Oscar, appreciate that super chat as well. What is a better listing for XRP, Coinbase or the Goldman Sachs trading desk? Each has the benefits of institutional money, but So, I mean, that's I would say it's a tough question. I mean, as far as Goldman Sachs opening up a Ripple trading desk, I don't know. I know Goldman is planning to open up a crypto trading desk. I don't know if they're going to specifically be trading the Ripple or the XRP asset. I think Coinbase is fairly likely to open up trading to Coinbase, or to eventually list Ripple on Coinbase. I think that is somewhat likely. But with that being said, I don't know if it's a guarantee. The one thing that I will say though too with any crypto is accessibility, and I think Ari Paul is somebody that talks about this, and kind of, I don't know if he coined the phrase, but accessibility of crypto is a big thing. And the more accessible your cryptocurrency is, the more valuable it is in the long term. So if you have a cryptocurrency that it's hard to access, it's hard to leverage, it's only traded on 1 or 2 exchanges, if it's on Cryptopia or just on EtherDelta, it's not as accessible, and that limits the value. Whereas if something's traded on Binance and Bittrex and Liqui and Poloniex and whatever, it's more accessible. That does increase the value in a lot of respects. And some of the most valuable cryptos are traded on Coinbase, obviously. Well, that's by design. But I think accessibility with crypto is something that you want to look at. And one value proposition or potential trading thing that you can do is look at crypto that is not highly accessible right now, but you do think will be accessible in the future. And it's not just on exchanges, it's with certain things like maybe Ledger is going to add a wallet for it, or Treasure is going to add wallet support, or whatever crypto out there is going to add support for it. That's an interesting way. So somebody else said crypto investor called XRP a pump and dump. Do I believe that is true? So I don't know if XRP is actually on. Let's see if it's on yet. So Ryblox is not on Coinigy yet because it's on some smaller market caps. I believe it's going to be listed on Binance. I think XRB actually won the Binance. I believe XRB won the Binance contest to be listed. I mean, you look at this and you can think like, yeah, the easy thing to do is to label this as a pump and dump. I mean, this was trading at less than $10 million on October 3rd. It was trading at 7 cents. With $94,000 in daily volume, and now it is trading at 29 bucks with over, close to $100 million in volume over the past month, for the past 30 days or so. And credit to, there's a couple guys on this channel that were banging down the door about, literally banging down the door about XRB when this was a sub $100 million market cap, or even a sub $200 million market cap. There are a couple dudes that are on Twitter, and they were in this YouTube live. They might be watching right now, but they were banging down the door on XRB. And I mean, it's pumped really hard. It's gone up from less than $50 million in market cap all the way up to close to or over $4 billion at one point in time. Could it be a pump and dump? It could. But there are a lot of things in crypto right now that artificially pump. I mean, Bitcoin can artificially pump. So Litecoin can artificially pump. Ethereum can artificially pump. So, yeah, Kyle Babcock, what is up? You're one of the dudes I was thinking about. Kyle was banging down the door. I don't even remember the name of what it was, or I don't remember how early it was, but it was probably sub 200 mil in market cap when he was in here talking about Ryblox and saying, hey, this one might be legit. So Kyle was well onto that early on. But I mean, as far as it definitively being a pump and dump, unless somebody has proof, I don't know. But that is, I mean, from there, in my opinion, there's just a level of excitement that gets around crypto that just goes really, really nuts really quick. So, Kyle, shout out to you. Buying in at $1, going up to $29. Good freaking call. Should have followed you, man. And that's why you're smarter than me. So another super chat here, Sylvan Bear. What is up, dude? We agree on Cardano as an investment. Can you say something about where you think its tech is going? From a tech perspective, I think Cardano has a pretty good shot in the industry of, from a price perspective, I guess we'll see how things end up panning out, but and obviously things have panned out really well. I mean, getting into Cardano at 3 cents and 15 cents and being where it's at right now, it's pretty crazy. But with with where things are and from a tech perspective, I think that what they're trying to do from a governance standpoint is really interesting. I think the way they're trying to learn from the challenges Bitcoin has had from a scaling issue, the challenges Ethereum has had from a scalability issue, I think those are things that they're looking at and trying to kind of innovate on top of. So they're kind of that generation 3 crypto platform. And even if it's something like, even if Cardano can't execute on that in the long term, even if it can, and I'm not saying it can't, but even if it can't become the next Ethereum or compete adequately with Ethereum, I think that there's enough of an investor sentiment now where keeping, at least for me, having money in Cardano seems like a good play. So I find that the level of research that they're putting out and the kind of the quality of work that they're doing is attractive in comparison to a lot of the other projects in existence. So shout out to the hot corner. So with Verge missing another time frame and floundering around, should I pack it up and send it over to Tron? And I don't want to piss off a bunch of I don't want to piss off a bunch of people here or anything like that, but you're saying, hey, I want to leave Verge, which is one crypto that pumped from, I don't even remember how hard, ridiculously hard. Verge pumped from under 100 mil in market cap. What was it? Less than a cent per coin to all the way up to 13 cents. So well over a 10x. At one point in time, over 25 cents. And now you want to head over to Tron TRX, which is also pumped from, let's see how hard Tron pumped. Tron has pumped from less than half a cent all the way up to 7 cents. So that seems to me like you're kind of trying to chase one pump after the other, and I don't necessarily recommend that. I would try to find, if you're going to exit Verge, which I'm not saying, I'm not a massive Verge fan. I know a lot of people are probably going to freak out and and say that, FUD or whatever. It's just not my cup of tea. I'll put it that way. Verge isn't my cup of tea for the time being. And but that's not to say I wish anybody who puts money in Verge bad luck or anything like that. It's just not my cup of tea. But if you're trying to go from Verge and then you're trying to go to Tron, you're already chasing massive pumps. Like those are, Verge pumped incredibly hard, killed it, went up like 3,000%, and now you're trying to go to another crypto that basically went and killed it and went up another 3,000%. So try to find, if you want to do that, try to find the next one. Like don't try and continually follow and chase these pumps, because it looks like maybe you got into Verge later on or maybe you got in early on, but you're going from one coin that's gone through the moon and then you're going to another coin that's gone through the moon. So we'll see, but that would be just my thought process there. Just tuned in like XLM. So this is one Stellar, and I talked about this a little bit recently, and I got some flack. Shout out to the dude that said I was an idiot on the YouTube comments in the past week. I think on December 30th. So on December 30th, I bought no Verge. Keep that in mind. I bought zero Stellar, and Ripple pumped, killed it. And I said, hey, Stellar has somewhat of a similar enough like use case, not the same thing, but somewhat similar enough that I could see Stellar pumping hard now that Ripple is pumped, because there's kind of a, the similar partnership space. And then that guy called me an idiot on YouTube. So shout out to you, because Stellar has gone from 33 cents all the way up to 64 cents. So thank you. I was wrong. Now I'm just kidding at 2x'd. I didn't have anything. So Joshua mentioned thoughts on the CoinLion exchange and Datum, also with the new tax laws. Do you think it's possible we might see more buy and hold largely versus pump and dumps? So I personally, I don't see the tax the tax deal being like the biggest thing in the world. Everybody seems to think that like the taxes are now like the biggest thing in the world. And my interpretation previously was crypto was taxable anyway, and there was like one small tiny thing that could potentially get you out of it, being like similar like property or like assets. So you could say, you know, crypto to crypto was not a taxable event, but I think most people that would look at that would say that it is. You know, with that being said, I don't think that taxes are going to be the biggest deal in the world. And from there, you know, I don't think it's going to make that much of a deal from a buy and hold perspective or versus pump and dumps. I just don't see the tax laws being that big of a deal personally. On CoinLine itself, I don't know. Let's see. So I could pop over to... I don't know too much about the CoinLine ICO. I think they've reached out to me personally, but I just didn't have too much interest in them for the time being. But maybe that's changed, or maybe I could do a little bit more research. But I didn't have too much interest, I mean, as far as things go with CoinLine. So Danny with the super chat, thank you very much. Do appreciate that. Can you please give your opinion on Ambrosis, AMB? Haven't heard of it. Can you look at the platform real quick? Appreciate the kind words. So I'll pop over to Ambrosis. So sub $100 million market cap. They've been around for a while. I think I heard initially some pretty good things from these guys. I mean, they've pumped up about 3x since mid-November. I don't remember the exact level that they ICO'd on. And I haven't done a full white paper kind of review on these guys. So that is one thing that I haven't done a full white paper on the Ambrosis team. Food, medicine, and that type of thing is an interesting. Supply chain is interesting with blockchain technology. Do I think it's going to be like a killer use case or anything like that? I'd have to read a little bit more. Anything in the sub, honestly, right now, and any sentiment within crypto can change in a minute, but anything below 50 or 100 mil in market cap has a very high propensity to pump with any type of decent project right now. So if it has a decent team, and I don't know too much about it yet, but if it has a decent team, the sub 100, sub $50 million market cap cryptos, depending upon the accessibility, is just on Binance right now. If you get at it, some more exchanges, maybe it's interesting. But I personally have to do a little bit more, information, do a little bit more due diligence on these guys to get a ton of info. So Z Classic is another question there in the super chat. Thank you, Vesa. And Z Classic is something that is trying to bring, I believe, off the top of my head, it's going to be a fork of Zcash. I think, if I'm not mistaken, just off the top, it's going to bring ZK Snarks potentially to Bitcoin. They're going to do at some point in time. What we got here? So Zcash was forked off of Bitcoin. Now Z Classic is being forked off of Zcash. And I have some friends that are actually fairly big on Z Classic. They think that Z Classic might end up going to the $200 to $300 range. I personally have no money in Z Classic. I need to do a little bit more diligence on Z Classic to see kind of what the long-term deal is there. But anybody that could potentially add a level of privacy to Bitcoin, it's something that could be fairly interesting long-term. So Z Classic is something that has caught my eye a little bit. Obviously, it's pumped up significantly since the announcement of the fork and how they're going to, fork. It's basically like an ICO almost for them. I mean, they were valued at less than what was it? Less than $5 like a week or two ago, and now we're all the way up to $100. So over a 20x. It's sold off recently, but if they can execute, it could be fairly interesting. That Rempberry ICO dough. So taking a look at some of these questions here. I'll get off the old advertising page. What's the purpose of privacy if you're scared of taxes? Oh, shit. So somebody else mentioned XRP. We'll pop over and take a look at it. Damn. So XRP is not necessarily at all-time highs, but if the candle closes here, it's the highest the candle's ever closed in the 1 hour. I mean, that's pretty incredible. So looking at these two super chats here, Sylvan Bear, what is up? Appreciate the super chat. Thank you very much for that. Like the philosophy, but on long-term holds, what part of your portfolio consists of a moonshot? What coin appeals now? How do you evaluate these? So I don't have, I would say, like massive moonshots. Let me pop over. If you guys are unfamiliar, you can go to my website at any time. There's not a ton on my website, admittedly, but if you go to my website on the top link, outside of just the tools and resources, if you want those of what I use from a tools resources perspective, but my portfolio, that list, I need to update this. This was the December 29th, because I haven't proofread that. But real quick, Chris Bruzy, Bittrex registration is closed for new users. What else is good? Go to the My Recommended Tools section, the link there. There's a link to Binance. You can register for that. It'll give you half off your trading fees if you want to utilize Binance. I've actually been using Binance more than I've been using Bittrex recently, but yeah, Bittrex is closed down to new registration, which kind of sucks. But getting back to the question there from Sylvan Bear, my probably smallest plays right now are Bread and I would say ZRX are probably the smallest caps that I'm in. Although I'm not open to smaller crypto at this point in time, but Bread, BRD, and then 0x, ZRX are probably the two like smallest caps that I'm in. And then I need to readjust this because with how Cardano has spiked, how ADA has spiked, it's actually pretty similar in terms of the fiat percentage to Bitcoin, which is pretty crazy, but it is. And I initially started off Cardano with probably maybe like a 5% bet in my portfolio. And now just with buying a little bit more here and there, but the initial stake, Cardano is probably now up to like 30% of my portfolio from a fiat percentage, which is nuts. Kyle Babcock, what up, dude? Shout out to Tommy for tipping Kyle off on XRB. Currently in Enigma and Chainlink. Link, don't chase pumps, especially if it's a 200+% pump. Thanks, Bobby. Yeah, I'm kind of a wimp. I mean, I'm definitely gonna say it. I typically don't chase pumps. I just haven't done that. I've always been a little bit scared, and I've always been afraid of getting burnt. I mean, that's just kind of the way I've gone about just trading. I mean, if you look, I know a lot of people are big fans of, I don't know if big fans is the right word, but maybe investors in like something like Verge. I mean, Verge has crushed it. It went all the way up, went up 300%. But there are certainly a good amount of people that have bought up here and now are down quite a bit, down probably plus 30, 40%. So that's one of the big reasons why I personally don't chase pumps, because I'm terrified of buying the top. That's kind of my biggest thing is I'm a wimp and I'm afraid of buying the top. So that's kind of always my my thought process there. And whatever's pumped, whether it's been Verge, whether it's been IOTA. Obviously, IOTA pumped pretty heavily recently, whereas we'll pull up IOTA, Bitfinex. It's picked up a little bit, but I mean, IOTA pumped all the way up to plus $5 and then back all the way down to like $2 at one point in time. So that's something that it's, yeah, who knows? And that's one thing too. I mean, just generally speaking, like try to figure out what you're good at, try to figure out what you're not good at, and that definitely helps you. And I suck at trying to time the market. I'm a lot better at researching solid fundamental cryptos and kind of just easing my way into them and holding medium to longer term. And when I'm comfortable with a level of profit, then getting out. But that is, I just have kind of realized that me trying to call a top, me trying to call a bottom, I'm usually the exact opposite of exactly that. So, Rohan, new rumor from Source, ETC, and Ripple, Coinbase. I mean, I wouldn't doubt if either Ethereum Classic or Ripple hit Coinbase. I think that there's probably other. I think Ethereum Classic has a lot of institutional backing. You got Barry Silbert and a lot of the other, digital coin, DCG and a lot of those folks that are behind Ethereum Classic. You also have IOHK that are behind Ethereum Classic. But I think there's probably other more appealing crypto assets out there besides Ethereum Classic for Coinbase to add. I think outside of just, and we'll pull up Ethereum Classic here, but make a nice little bit of a run here. But I think there's probably some more maybe exciting assets that Coinbase could add. And one thing that I think you want to consider is the more trading that goes on with those assets, the more Coinbase is making. So they obviously want to make sure that they're good from a legal perspective, but they also want to make sure that they are adding some of the most profitable crypto out there as well. So somebody mentioned thoughts on Enigma. Believe Enigma's pulled a 10x since the ICO. Launched at a tough time in mid-October. Like that was ICO winter. That was altcoin winter. Really solid fundamental project and got kind of crushed and died a little bit after the ICO, and then has since pulled a 10x after the ICO, essentially more than a 10x really, probably like close to a 12, 15x. Traded on Binance, which is helpful, and on Bittrex as well. So they're doing all the right things in terms of the liquidity in the marketplace. That's something that long term, I think that the team, and from all the analysis that I've seen about what Enigma has in place, they could be a pretty legit squad of folks to execute on a vision. And I think with the liquidity that they have in place, it is fairly attractive. Chris Fry mentioned BitConnect X. I wouldn't touch it with a 50 bajillion foot pole. No thank you. And no thank you. And then no thank you again. And if you follow anybody that recommends you put $1 into BitConnect X, you should X them out of your life. Whoops, I said it. So Jennifer, thank you very much for that super chat. I appreciate that. Very, very kind to you. I'm not sure if there's a question there or not, but yeah. So another question, can you do a review on Navcoin and if you like it? So Nav's a privacy play. There are a lot of privacy coins that have had a lot of success recently. I've been fairly interested in Nav long-term for a little bit of time. It definitely hasn't pumped as hard as a lot of other ones. I personally, from a privacy perspective, I personally have my privacy play right now it's Zcash, but that's just mine. I like Monero, and I respect the Monero team as well. And I think Monero is also a pretty legit one. Navcoin, I think, is a decent potential bet if you're looking for a privacy coin that could pop up like Verge. Maybe, or it may or may not have the tech fundamentals of something like, may or may not have the tech fundamentals of something like a Monero or Zcash. I don't know. I haven't gone through the entire thing, so let me just block a couple people in this chat that are just getting annoying. So if you want to just don't write stupid things in the chat. It's just one humble man here trying to moderate everything. But let's see here. So going back to it. So Navcoin is an interesting play from a cheaper, in terms of market capitalization and in terms of price, a cheaper privacy coin. That I think is really the big thing from a value that it adds over something like a Zcash or a Monero. I haven't done the full due diligence on it. I haven't done the full kind of white paper read on Navcoin yet, but yeah, optional private payments. Privacy is a big thing, regardless of whether or not anybody actually uses the privacy, regardless of whether or not they have any idea of what privacy means. still a hot investment thesis for the time being. So let's see here. Thoughts on REQ mainnet release soon. Nope, not REW, REQ. Request Network is one that's as well kind of similar to... Actually, I missed one super chat there. Yordi, I'll get to that in a second. So Request kind of ICO'd at a similar time to Enigma. It kind of, I didn't want to say died off, but kind of traded sideways for like a month, month and a half, and has since pumped up through the roof. So anytime something actually starts hitting a mainnet launch, that's a big deal. A lot of the trade up happens into that though. So if they've announced that, I haven't followed it full on. So, you know, a lot of the trade action tends to, at least in my opinion, when somebody announces this or a release is coming up, the trade up goes into that and not necessarily like you don't hit the mainnet release and then it just continues to pop up. It's kind of the old buy the rumor, sell the news thing. So that is something to keep in mind. But I do think Request Network has a solid team, some pretty good folks in place. So overall, though, I think, I don't want to say the time to buy was in October, November, but that was where a lot of the research with these recently ICO'd cryptos, that was very beneficial because that wasn't the hot time to invest in these things. That wasn't the hot time to be talking about ICOs or recently ICO'd cryptocurrencies, but that was the time to accumulate as much as possible. And now they've obviously paid off if you did accumulate back at that point in time. So if you post the same thing 75 different times in the chat at once, I'm gonna boot you. Sorry about that. So looking at some of these chats and super chats here. So somebody mentioned Synovio. Real quick. It's a smaller market capitalization. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I haven't had a chance to go through these guys in depth. So anything I would say there is not very accurate and basically me talking out of my butt. So I don't want to say anything positive or negative about this project without having a full understanding or idea about exactly what they're trying to, exactly what they're trying to do and kind of how this is going to go down. So yeah, at this point in time, I don't want to give too much information on it, but I'll add that to the list of things that I should, should check out for sure. And so Sylvan Bear, popping into these. Sylvan Bear mentioned bread seems to be going sideways right now. What value does it add that stimulates my interest? I think with bread, it is going a little bit sideways right now, and I'm kind of using that as an opportunity to accumulate personally, because as you can see with a lot of the other altcoins back, when you saw Enigma, when you just saw the chart on Request Network, I mean, those went sideways for quite some time after the ICO. And that's something that, if you were acquiring at that point in time, it's pretty solid. So I'm looking at bread at this point in time as something that I am kind of continually looking to acquire at this kind of sideways price action. So I'm happy about that. Somebody just mentioned Bitcoin just popped. So we'll pop over to, let's just see here. Bitcoin did indeed just pop. We'll take a little peek at that bad boy. So we got Bitcoin back above 15,000. See if that can make a nice little bit of run. But yeah, bread I'm looking at this point in time is something that could potentially pop nicely after it gains a little bit of stability. Long-term value, what stimulates my interest? I think they have a solid team. They have a good product in terms of their wallet. But if they can potentially become a crypto bank per se, that is fairly interesting. And I think they are one of the few that can actually execute on becoming a crypto bank. Whether or not that's the most needed product in the world, who knows? But when you're talking about Dogecoin being at $1 billion market cap and something like bread being at 100 mil, that looks fairly inexpensive for the time being. So harsh thoughts on Salt. I like Salt. I don't have any money in Salt, but I think Salt is an interesting crypto out there for sure. So I do like Salt, and I do like the team behind Salt as well. I was actually looking at kind of what from a usability perspective, if that might be something that would add any value to myself, or if that would be something good to have any type of exposure in terms of kind of minimizing some of the risk that I have in place there. But yeah, so somebody said I'm long on Ethos. Ben Collins, what's up, dude? I'm long on Ethos. I know there are a couple YouTube bros that are big on Ethos. Ethos is spiking hard, so depending upon where you got in on Ethos, that could have been a really good play. But a lot of people always ask about these guys as far as what Ethos can bring to the table and kind of what they're trying to do. So I don't know. I'm a little bit undecided on Ethos personally, of kind of how the approach that they're taking and whether or not they can execute on it, because it sounds fantastic in theory. Like, it sounds incredible, but can they execute on it? And is that something that's legitimately something they can accomplish? You know, having Bitcoin, having kind of asset allocation across the board, mobile support, having cold store, having access to all this stuff, but also having cold storage, having managed keys that are taken care of for you, having access to altcoins, ERC20 tokens, like that all sounds fantastic all in one place. But is that something that's realistic? It sounds like potentially more than they can chew, but who knows? Maybe it's not. Ryan Wright says, pick one Bitcoin, Ethereum, or Zcash if you're buying today. What do you think is the most short-term potential? So we'll pop over to on-chain FX real quick, and we got Bitcoin making a run as we are talking up to $15,070. So personally happy to see that. I'm kind of curious if that is bleeding out any of these altcoins at all. So the last time Bitcoin did that, the altcoin market went down a little bit. So it doesn't look like it's really affecting Ethereum too much. Let's see here. So yeah, it actually is affecting Ethereum a little bit. Nothing crazy, but so if we're talking about Ethereum, if we're talking about Zcash and Bitcoin, we'll pull these up and then we'll look at. So Bitcoin is 25% down from the all-time high right now. Ethereum is 3% down from the all-time high, and then Zcash is, where do we get Zcash? Zcash is down here. It's 22% off the all-time high. I would say potentially Bitcoin or Zcash. I think Zcash and Bitcoin tend to trade pretty similarly in some nature, at least as of recently. I mean, you had Bitcoin hitting its all-time high 16 days ago. Zcash was 12 days ago, 22% off, 25% off. Ethereum basically just established a brand new all-time high yesterday and is very, very close to that. So you're buying Ethereum kind of at the top, whereas you might be buying Bitcoin at a little bit of a discount, or Zcash at a little bit of a discount there as well. So appreciate the super chat there, Naima and Jennifer as well. Thank you guys so much for that. I'm looking at some of these. Let's see here. I think I might have missed Jordy. Sorry about that. It's tough to go through all these. So sorry about missing the super chat there, Jordy. Apologies on that. But thoughts on Waves. So Waves is interesting because Waves has not pumped anywhere near as hard as, we'll pull up all sectors. Waves has not pumped anywhere near as hard as some of the other platform plays has. Ethereum has obviously crushed it, $86 billion in valuation. Cardano is up to $22 billion, 85 cents, 2% off the all-time high established today. NEM is over $10 billion, Neo, EOS, Qtum, Ethereum Classic, Lisk, and then Waves is basically at the bottom at $1.3 billion. Still 26% off its all-time high, so it's fairly interesting to see Waves having a little bit of trouble. Not necessarily trouble, but it might be a good value play, but I don't necessarily see as much. I mean, this and sometimes this could be the time to buy, but I haven't seen as much community excitement around things like around Waves as I have with EOS or with Neo or with Cardano or with Qtum or even with Lisk or Ethereum Classic. So maybe that's just kind of because it hasn't pumped as hard, but it's just something I haven't seen as many people talking about, which is fairly interesting in nature. But that's also the time where a lot of times you want to buy. So I think I missed a chat there from Jennifer, so I'm gonna hop back to that because I didn't see that in the super chat. So sorry about that. Let me pop over to it. So for us newbies, bought Neo and XRP on Binance to hold. but everyone is saying dump alts when Bitcoin is on the rise. What are your long-term alts and recommend alt buys for right now? If you guys ever want to see my portfolio, again, it is right over here. This is just a fiat percentage. So you can see my biggest weighted coin right now is Bitcoin. Cardano is my second largest weighted crypto. But Ethereum is third, and then Vechain, just with the nature of the Vechain pump, I haven't kind of taken full profits on that. So I think you just want to determine your own strategy there as much as possible. Somebody said page not found. Just go to cryptobobby.com if that's not working. Cryptobobby.com, and in the top, you'll see my portfolio, and you should be good to go there. So, yeah. We'll pop over here. Take a look at some of these questions. So, Randy mentioned, appreciate your voice in the crazy space. Thank you, dude. If you have any questions, definitely let me know. And sorry, so I'm trying to get to as many of these questions as I possibly can, trying to answer things as quickly as I can. If you absolutely must have something answered, throw in the super chat because that's the easiest way for me to filter through things. But if not, I try to get to as many as possible. So somebody mentioned, have you heard of the Bloom token? What are your thoughts? Just finished the ICO at New Year. Yes, I put in, actually the last crypto happy hour, I talked to Jesse, who's one of the co-founders of Bloom token. I put in my own money to that. And I'm excited to see where that goes. They did not sell out their ICO, but there have been other ICOs that did not sell out and have performed extremely well. So I'm interested to see how Bloom can execute on their vision and where they might go. So I do like the Bloom token. I like the team, and that is one that I'm keeping an eye on. Bobby Siegfried, what's up, Bobby? Fantastic name. Always a great name. Is there a platform to keep track of your profits and what price you bought in automatically across different exchanges and coins, or just Excel? Yeah, pop over to, if you go to my website, there's the recommended tools and resources, or if you go in the description below, there's two that I recommend. So it's actually, let me see, it's actually in the description below. So if you go in the description of this video is actually where you want to go, and I have a link to cointracking.info and bitcoin.tax. Cointracking.info is more expensive. There's a little bit more features there, but you can import CSV files and APIs from exchanges. They're both paid services, but I use both of them, and you can import. So cointracking.info, you can use API integrations to track your profits across P&L statements across exchanges. Bitcoin.tax, you just upload CSV files manually and utilize that. I like both of them. I found that Bitcoin.tax, while it's cheaper actually if you're okay with downloading the CSV files and uploading them, I found that that's actually a little bit more reliable than the coin tracking APIs, but maybe I was just using those APIs incorrectly. So that is something that you can look at for both realized gains, unrealized profit and loss, things like that. Cointracking.info and Bitcoin.tax, both the links are in the description below. So looking at a couple more of these questions, any thoughts on Sonam? If you've already touched this, just joined in. What's up, Romario? Appreciate it, man. Hope you are having a good one. I'm curious to see real quick as I'm answering that. We got Bitcoin up to 15,075, which is pretty legit. I wonder if it could break the 15.2 mark. That might be somewhat substantial, but so any thoughts on Sonam? I think Sonam actually reached out recently in regards to one of their upcoming announcements. I think that let's see how they ended up. They're down about 9%. They have a fairly decent announcement upcoming, I believe. I don't know off the top of my head. Oh, the testnet. Yeah, so the testnet went live. They have their MVP ready to go and set up. So I haven't had a chance to utilize the testnet, but it's fairly big news that they're actually delivering on some of the promises that they put in place. So I haven't had a chance to utilize it. I haven't gotten a chance to work with it yet, but it is something that from like a technical perspective, I'd like to play around with and see. So investment-wise, the cloud computing, decentralized computing space hasn't done as hot as a lot of other areas have, but on the other end of the spectrum, it's still an interesting play for sure. And then, so Crypto Pants just wanted to give you $5. Well, I appreciate that. I will definitely take it. Happy New Year to you. What is my favorite next pick on Coinbase? Personally, I don't really care what Coinbase adds, and I'll say that. I'm gonna pick things that, from a fundamental perspective, I'm gonna pick things that fundamentally I am interested in, I am excited in, and that I think are going to do well whether or not they get added to Coinbase. I think that's what you should do too. Personally, I don't think you should invest in a crypto just because you think it's going to get added to Coinbase. I've talked about this before. I'll say it again. Find something that hey, maybe it might get added to crypto. And if it does, obviously that's great. It's going to pump to the high heavens. It's going to crush it. But it doesn't have to get added to Coinbase just to pump your bags. So I don't really, I'm not investing in anything right now solely for the reason that it's going to get added to Coinbase. It doesn't necessarily appeal to me too much. So looking at some more of these questions, somebody said, how is skiing at Stowe Stratton? Skiing was cool this weekend. I am terrible at skiing. I got a lesson last week. It was like my third time skiing, and now I can actually get down blues. So I'm alive. I didn't break my leg yet. Stratton was cool. But I've started to like skiing almost as much as I like crypto, which is good. It's just unfortunately, the internet in Vermont was not too hot, so I couldn't do any YouTube live crypto happy hours, and I couldn't have a sweet green screen behind me either. So Martin Burns, what is going on? And then Lawrence Anderson. So 2 super chats I'll get to real quick. Please explain scaling plus investing in coins versus platforms. So I would say you might want to, there's a number of ways you can dissect assets per se. I mean, if you want to go on to on-chain FX, there's different sectors. I think they break it down nicely, between currency and then a number of other things, whether it's privacy coins, on-chain governance, payment platforms, asset management, blah, blah, blah. But I think some of the biggest ones are obviously currency, which is one. I mean, these are the biggest currencies: Bitcoin, Ripple, Bitcoin Cash, Dash, Litecoin, Zcash, Monero. And then you have platform plays like Ethereum or Cardano or Ethos. So the interest, I mean, the differences there, basically currencies are solely, at least just very, very high level, currencies are solely, for the most part, Bitcoin, while there are some second layer scaling things that they can do or some other things in terms of building on top of Bitcoin. For the most part, Bitcoin is meant to be a currency. It's meant to be a transactional, I'm sending you a Bitcoin, you're sending me a Bitcoin. It's getting recorded on the blockchain, and that's basically what's being recorded on the blockchain is how much was included in the transaction, the sending address, the receiving address, the time it was sent, and that's basically it. Whereas the functionality of something like Ethereum or Cardano was meant to be able to develop applications based upon that platform as well. So with that being said, though, Ethereum and Cardano and some of those other ones, EOS, Neo, Ethereum Classic, they have a little bit more, I would say, difficulty, or they're going to have some more, they're going to have some other things there from a perspective of scaling where maybe it's more they're trying to do more than something like potentially Bitcoin is. So looking at some of these questions here, somebody said, how do you get the green screen? I went to Amazon.com and I said green screen, and then I bought the green screen. It was crazy. No, I'm kidding. But no, it's literally what I did. So another question there from Martin Burns. I'm interested in your thoughts on smart contract security plays like QuantStamp. I think smart contracts are fascinating. I think they are one of the bigger use cases with blockchain technology, specifically with Ethereum and some of the other kind of platform plays. And the way smart contracts are executed, they're a huge value proposition for something like Ethereum. But as you may or may not have seen with something like the parity multi-sig wallet hack, or back in the day with the DAO, the Decentralized Autonomous Organization, smart contracts do not always work well, and they're only as good as the programmers and engineers behind them. And if you don't engineer a good smart contract, it's not going to work out well. So that's something you definitely want to pay attention to. So the security plays, the governance plays around smart contracts, I think are potentially, they might not be the hottest thing right now, but long term, they're very interesting. So I think QuantStamp is a really interesting project for sure. Have a look at Extra Bytes Blockchain 3.0. I have not. So 300 mil market cap, that ain't nothing to snooze at. And that has, it's crazy how some of these things, regardless of what it is, I mean, they've just crushed it. So, I mean, this was less than $10 million in market cap, less than about 2 cents back early December. It's now over 60 cents. So Extra Bytes has pulled a 30x, and I've been snoozing on it. So it's only on Cryptopia. I really need to open up a Cryptopia account because I don't have one yet, and that's apparently the place where you want to go buy shit coins that pump. So I'm not saying that XBY Extra Bytes is a crap coin, but there are a lot of not great coins that pump real hard on that. So definitely something that I want to take out. So Sylvan Bear just mentioned, somebody said this was a simple question, but hey, no, Sylvan Bear, I appreciate the question, and I'll happily answer it. So is there any way to use USA fiat on Binance or Bittrex, or do you always have to buy Bitcoin and Ethereum on GDAX first? Yeah, I buy Bitcoin or Ethereum. I actually buy Litecoin on GDAX, and then I send that to Binance or Bittrex because Litecoin is, as of right now, like the cheapest and fastest way to send something from one exchange to another. So I actually buy Litecoin on GDAX and then send that to Binance and Bittrex, because right now you can't utilize fiat currency. You can't buy Binance. You can't get USD. Can't get fiat currency onto Binance or Bittrex. They're more unregulated, or they're way more loosely regulated than something like GDAX or CoinBase. So looking at some of these questions here. Sweet. So, Old School Gamer Rick, what is up, dude? Good to see you. Any thoughts on Dentcoin? So, I think I've talked about these guys before. Good old. So, I think this is Dent and not Denta coin, which is the dentist coin. So, these. I mean, from Dentcoin's perspective, I haven't read this white paper yet. I was recently asked about these guys. I haven't gotten a chance to go through the process of reading about Dentcoin's white paper. I'll have to check them out a little bit more personally to see if they are legit. Obviously, a massive run-up from the early December timeframe of less than 10 mil all the way up to 250 mil. So already at 25x this month, which is crazy. There are a lot of coins that have pulled these 25x's. So something to keep in mind, but I need to do a little bit more research on these guys. Dean mentioned Happy New Year. Thoughts on forks to look out for? Personally, I'm not a big fan of forks in terms of just, for me, I'm not a massive fan of buying Bitcoin or some other cryptocurrency specifically for the forks. I've for the most part, if I have the Bitcoin and I'm going to get the fork, I'm going to do it. But if not, I'm not too worried about it at all. So I don't really try to chase forks. I mean, I think Bitcoin Cash was the big daddy, and then Bitcoin Gold kind of rode the coattails. And ever since Bitcoin Gold, Not that many have done that well. I think Z Classic is potentially like the last maybe interesting one, but I'm not super interested in forks long term right now. So Rico Suave mentioned recommendations on an ERC20 wallet. I hate myetherwallet.com. Personally, I actually like MyEtherWallet with a Ledger Nano S. I don't know what you might be using with MyEtherWallet. MyEtherWallet is actually pretty easy to use when you have, if I just get away from this crap. But I mean, when I use MyEtherWallet, I just hook it up with a Ledger Nano S, pop it in, connect the Ledger, and then go from there. So that makes it pretty easy for me, but that's kind of where that's typically where I roll. So I'm a big fan of MyEtherWallet connected to a Ledger wallet, just because you don't have to sync it to the blockchain like you do with Parity. But I think MetaMask is another one as well that you might want to take a look at. But yeah, I'm maybe not the best, because I use personally, when I have my ERC20 tokens, I use MyEtherWallet for it. Do I think IOTA is worth buying at this price? I'm not the most massive IOTA fan. Not just in general, but I think that I don't want to say it had its pump, but it seems like community interest is maybe like waning in them a little bit. And I mean, it'll probably pump back up to its all-time highs, and I'm sure at some point in time above that. But IOTA hasn't been like, I'm just not incredibly interested in IOTA personally. So is it worth buying at this price? I think you want to do your own due diligence on them and see. Do I think that it could probably get past its all-time high? For sure. So, but I'm not like the biggest IOTA proponent of, just from like a long-term perspective. I think IOTA is interesting. They have very lofty goals, and the Internet of Things kind of angle and the tangle, and the angle and the tangle, I didn't really mean to rhyme that, but the angle that they're taking with the tangle is interesting, and I think appealing to a lot of people, because they see the issues that blockchain has when it comes to scaling, but they need to execute on building a really legit product that gets adoption, although you could pretty much say the same about every crypto asset out there, because it's pretty much all. Somebody commented one time and basically tried to be like, hey, you're an idiot, this is all speculation. I'm like, yeah, it is all speculation. Like, there are very few projects out there that are truly, fully, no BS, have a product in place that's usable, that has true utility. So pretty much everybody is speculating on what they think in the long term might have usability, or what people might think might have usability in the long term. And that's one thing that you also want to differentiate too, is it doesn't necessarily just have to have usability right now or long term, but what happens if people think it's going to be the best thing in the world for the next 6 months? Maybe it sells off, but if you invest in it for the next 6 months and it spikes, who knows? So looking at some of these questions here. So Charlotte, what is up? Trying to figure out stop limit on Binance. Can I force it to auto market sell when the price drops like GDAX, or will it set a limit sell example? So I haven't done a ton with Binance yet on the, I don't think I'm, let me see here. I just want to make sure I'm not signed in. We'll just hop over to the basic. We'll see what it's looking like. So yeah, I mean, I think the overall perspective on Binance is going to be a similar user experience in terms of selling and utilizing a stop limit as you would on GDAX. It's going to be pretty much the exact same thing. So they do have, I don't know if you've utilized it all yet, but the little question here too, that little button should take you to the help and how to utilize it too, and kind of what the process is on Binance. I mean, that should, for the most part, hopefully answer all the questions there. If you hit that, I'll throw the link to that support link as well. So hopefully that can help you there. But yeah, it's pretty much the exact same thing as how you'd utilize a stop limit order on GDAX there too. So let's take a look at what do we got. So curious how Bitcoin is looking. So looks like it's about to break. Let's see here. Potentially about to break 15,100, which would be interesting. Might run up a little bit once we see that happen. Philip Rover, thank you very much for that super chat on both ends. Let me see if I missed a comment from you, just to make sure that I did not. If not, I do appreciate the super chat. Yeah, somebody mentioned ADA is not dumping. Yeah, it's not, which is pretty surprising. I mean, I think a lot of other crypto out there has been dumping a little bit. I mean, I don't want to say dumping. It's, you know, down 5% from the 25% that it's already been up. So it looks all good there. Awesome. So looking at some more of these questions here. Bitcoin on the move. Yep, Bitcoin is up. Wow, up almost $100 in that second that I just looked at the comments. So it broke 15,100 and now is up to 15,198. Let's see if it can break $15,200. This afternoon it went all the way up to 15,270 and then got pushed down. So let's see if it can break through that mark. Should be fairly interesting to see. Maybe we'll pull that up on GDAX here, as they kind of have a prettier looking. Depth chart. Sweet. So somebody said, Crypto Bobby, how much have you drank? I had 2 beers at happy hour like 4 hours ago, so I think I'm okay. Somebody said, do you ever move profits to Tether temporarily? Personally, I don't. I don't find a massive need to move things to Tether temporarily. If it gets taxed the exact same that it does between Tether and between US dollar. So not a tax advantage to doing that. Potentially previously you could have considered Tether to be a tax advantage. So there was maybe a tax advantage previously. Now there is no longer. So I'm not a massive fan of utilizing Tether really long term at all. And there's a lot of kind of FUD or different theories, things like that around Tether. So I'm not a massive, I just don't feel a huge need to utilize Tether. Somebody said Harish Sakrani, favorite cut of steak. Actually went to a pretty legit steakhouse in New York for lunch today for work. Had a nice bone-in ribeye, which is probably my favorite cut of steak. Bone-in ribeye, that's my deal. Jorge, have you partied with David Hay? When we were at NAC3 in Vegas, I did go out, hang out with him in Vegas after the conference, get some drinks, go to the casino. So got a chance to hang out with David Hay, yeah, for sure. It was cool. Ribeye medium rare is my order, in case you care. Every single time. So looking at these super chats, because there were a couple ones there I didn't get to. Brendan, actually, whoa. So Danny D, what is up? Dark web is replacing Bitcoin for XMR. So I think that's going to be a privacy coin that will prevail. What do you think about it? Great channel, by the way. Well, thank you very much for that. Yeah, I think that. So personally, I mean, right now, my quote-unquote privacy coin of choice is Zcash, at least from an investment perspective. But I was kind of debating between that and Monero. I think that Monero has a really strong foothold in the dark web, per se. Whether it's with like Silk Road alternatives, that type of thing. So I think that it's a massive utility. I mean, you're supposed to be utilizing a crypto, and Monero is utilized and utilized well. On the other end of the spectrum, like Zcash is maybe more like institutional money backing it. Guys like Barry Silbert and those dudes, and they're getting like an ETN and things like that. So I like Zcash because of that, but I think Monero is a very good play personally. I don't have any money in it just because there's not enough for me to put everywhere, but I think Monero is a solid play. Brendan and Shane, thank you guys for the super chats there. I appreciate that. I'm not sure if I missed a question at all from you guys, but try to let me know if I did. If not, I do appreciate it. Actually, somebody said Philip. So Philip, here we go. What do you think of Zencash? It is working nodes up. We'll pop that over. So I'll see if I can pop over Zencash. Again, privacy coins are just a massive, massive thing right now. Like, people are just throwing, you could have Dogecoin dark and you can pump it. I'm kidding, but I'm kind of being serious. So, I mean, anything that has any element of privacy is just crushing it right now, kind of regardless of if it's fantastic, if it's not. Privacy coins are a super legit investment thesis right now. It's working. It is. It's working. So do I know too much about Zen at this point in time? I don't know a ton about it. I haven't done a full bit of due diligence on it. I probably should, because I think at one point in time I'm going to put together a video which will just be like every single privacy coin in existence and which ones are good in this respect, which ones are good in this respect, and which ones might be good from an investment perspective. So Zen is one that might, obviously make that list for sure. Brendan and Shane, thanks again for those super chats. I didn't see a question, so if you need one, let me know. Sylvan Bear, what is your criteria for leaving a coin on the exchange for future trading versus when you store it on a ledger? For the most part, I get a coin, I get a token, I get an asset, and I get it off and I put it on a ledger and try to move it there for safekeeping. I usually feel fairly confident leaving something on GDAX for the time being, with two-factor authentication enabled and a lot of other things, a lot of those security precautions enabled. But typically, I feel fairly confident in leaving something on like a GDAX. But Binance and Bittrex, I've had zero issues with Binance or Bittrex yet. But that doesn't mean that I don't like. I would keep $1 billion on Binance or Bittrex, so I usually try to stay safe with that. I mean, a lot of times the only reason I would leave a coin on an exchange is if it's not supported on Ledger for the time being, and I don't want to open up a local wallet that I don't want to have to deal with. So Crypto Supply Co, what's up? Always good to see you. Do you have KuCoin yet? Seems like after the EtherDelta hack, a lot of EtherDelta users migrated over to KuCoin for newly minted coins. Happy New Year. I don't have KuCoin yet. I've heard good things. I know a lot of people like KuCoin. EtherDelta, the hack was, I believe, the team in EtherDelta, initial team sold EtherDelta to another company, and EtherDelta has since been hacked, and it's unfortunate because EtherDelta is probably the most prominent decentralized exchange for the time being, whether you like it or not. It's definitely one of the most utilized exchanges out there. So it's unfortunate that it was hacked because it doesn't say great things about decentralized exchanges for the time being, and doesn't kind of help that value proposition. But as far as finding the coins on KuCoin, I think KuCoin and Binance have both. Binance too has I think benefited from adding crypto assets more quickly than Bittrex, and also when Bittrex is closed down to new users, Binance is like, hey guys, what's up? If you need to join Binance, you want altcoins, hit the link in the description. I'm kidding, but seriously. But Binance has been legit. I've actually migrated the majority of my altcoin trading over to Binance, so that's been something that's worked solidly for sure. As far as the economics of KuCoin versus Binance Coin, I haven't dived into kind of really investing in either of them, but Binance Coin has done really well, I believe, as has KuCoin. So, Kyle, what's up, dude? What are your thoughts on the up-and-coming Bitcoin futures contracts? Do you think the recent pumping in Bitcoin is a result of this? We'll see if Bitcoin can break this, break 15.2. We'll see if that happens. I think the kind of, I don't want to say this isn't necessarily a pump. I mean, it's kind of Bitcoin obviously cooled off quite a bit after it's run up to close to 20K and is now recovering, I think, nicely. I think just overall this is looking positive for the month of January. I've been pretty excited about the trend and the indicators that we're seeing right now, and I do think that we might be in for a nice month. I'm hoping. I could absolutely be wrong, and I'll preface that by saying I could absolutely be wrong. But I'm hoping that we'll see a nice run for Bitcoin for the time being, and that this is somewhat of the start of that. So as far as Bitcoin futures having any specific effect on that, I think there's still fairly low liquidity in the Bitcoin futures, and I think we're really 2018 is going to be a fascinating year from an institutional money perspective, how much money flows into Bitcoin, how much exposure these people, these big banks or these hedge funds or these family offices or whoever it is from an institution perspective really does want into Bitcoin. And we're going to find out, and whether or not that is a long or short interest as well. What's Litecoin looking like for 2018? We could pull up Litecoin right now. So I like Litecoin from the perspective of transactions and usability right now. From an investment perspective, I'm not sure how it's going to work. So I don't have a massive investment in Litecoin at all, really. I use Litecoin personally to transfer between exchanges. I do think that use case is going to continue to grow, and I think more people are going to start doing that. I was actually going to make a video about that probably tomorrow at some point in time, just as far as kind of like what I do and why I use Litecoin specifically for that. So I am planning on, I do kind of continue to plan to utilize Litecoin. I think that might be something that could increase the price. Obviously, Litecoin was in the sub $100 mark for quite some time, and then come mid-early December, it spiked up from less than $100 all the way up to $400, and then has since consolidated in this above $200 mark. I think that's fairly positive to see a nice consolidation from Litecoin here, but long-term, I'm not exactly sure where it might end up going. I mean, there might be some people from a TA perspective that could add a little bit more color, but we will have to see. Why are Nano S's so expensive? I mean, they're like under $100, so I mean, from an expense perspective, I don't think that's very. I don't think that's very expensive. I mean, if it comes to securing your investments or losing thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars, I'm going to spend $100 or a couple $100 and secure my stuff. And I would definitely recommend the same on your end as well. But I could always be wrong for sure. But I don't think it's that expensive. That's just me, though. Maybe in comparison to your portfolio it is, and if so, if spending $100 on a ledger is spending $100 in your ledger is a lot in comparison to like $500 in your portfolio, then maybe it's not worth it. But yeah. So somebody mentioned thoughts on Burstcoin for proof of capacity mining. I haven't done a ton of research on Burstcoin. Another crazy spike. Nice spike for sure. It's really been incredible how many sub 20, sub $10 million market cap coins have gone all the way up to this plus 100 mil 9-figure range. I mean, it's been absolutely nuts, but I need to do a little bit more diligence on these guys, kind of add them to the list of things I need to read on the white paper. Shady Cats. And then what is the favorite proof of capacity coin? So I don't necessarily know if I have a favorite proof of capacity coin at this point in time. I mean, outside of just Burst, yeah, I need to do a little bit more just diligence on proof of capacity and see if I have a favorite. But I mean, at this point in time, I don't have a favorite. So there's that. Smart Factor, what is up? What is up? Happy New Year to you as well. Why did you move most of your coins over to Binance, and did you have to pay fees on Bittrex when you move them? So I've just been buying my new coins on Bittrex as opposed to Binance for the most part. So I just didn't necessarily have to move them. Anytime that you move a coin from one exchange to another, exchanges charge fees depending upon how much money you have. That is something that, depending upon how much money you have, that's something that may or may not be a large impact for you. So, but yeah, if you move your Bitcoin from Bittrex to Binance, if you move your money from Bittrex to GDAX, if you move money from Bittrex to a Ledger, Binance to a Ledger, whatever, you're gonna have to pay fees associated with that. Usually they're not that bad, but sometimes they can, they can do that. And somebody said, yeah, if you can't afford a Nano S, just use a paper wallet for offline storage. Yeah, for sure. Just make sure that if you are utilizing a paper wallet, that you know what you're doing and you don't screw it up, because you can definitely screw up a paper wallet for sure. Why is a Ledger better than a paper wallet? I like a Ledger just because you can store a number of different. I store Bitcoin, I store Litecoin, I store Zcash, I store Ethereum, and every other ERC20 token in existence that I want. Every other ERC20 token in existence is there. So there's a lot of different ones that you can utilize from Ledger's perspective. And when it's plugged into your computer, it's engineered so the private keys are never exposed to your computer. So even if there's a virus on your Ledger, you're good to go. So I like a hardware wallet. Treasure is another one as well. That is, I don't use a Treasure, but that's one that I think is, I've heard very good things about too. Yeah. So I'm looking at some of these comments. Don't show Ponzi schemes in the YouTube chat, or you're gonna get blocked. You know those things that look like a triangle. Those are Ponzi schemes. Somebody said no Cardano on a Ledger, no ADA on a Ledger. No, but we will, according to one of the guys at, so it looks like Bitcoin sold off a little bit, down about $100. But according to, where do we have it here? So Richard Wild from IOHK Input Output Hong Kong, who works on the Cardano project, said that, tweeted this out beforehand. So somebody said, hey, any chance to see Cardano ADA support on Ledger HQ anytime soon? Input Output Hong Kong. Soon Cardano ADA on a Ledger, which will be legit, and I'm excited to see that happen. So that should be a pretty good one. So I see Kevin talking about Particle. I don't have a ton on Particle that I could add value to at this point in time, so I'd wait on that. I'll do a little bit more research on do a little bit more research on that. Somebody said talk about the dangers of keeping coins on an exchange. I mean, there hasn't been a ton of quote-unquote danger recently, but oh, no, not Mountain. There we go. So if you're not familiar, there are a number of exchanges that have been hacked, that have gone under, that have had nefarious things going on. If you are new to crypto by any stretch whatsoever, go over to look at Mt. Gox, watch a video about it, look at Cryptsy. There have been a number of exchanges that have either been hacked, they've just had incredible negligence, they've just been so dumb, and people have lost their money. So that is something that you want to, that's the danger, is that the money you have on that exchange is going to be hacked, it's going to be stolen, you're going to lose it, and then there goes that. So something you want to keep in mind. Both Mt. Gox is probably the biggest example of all time, and probably one of the biggest things that you can look at from an exchange hacking perspective. So if you are new to crypto, highly suggest you study up on Mt. Gox and why this is happening. Also, though, a lot of people talk about decentralized exchanges. I talk about decentralized exchanges. Decentralized exchanges are great, but they do also have their issues as well. So, like EtherDelta is one of the larger, was one of the, let's see, I don't even know. EtherDelta was hacked recently, and basically what happened when EtherDelta was hacked, to my knowledge, is that they, when they were hacked, they had their DNS changed so that whoever put their, basically whoever hacked the website, instead of taking all the crypto out, since they don't hold the crypto, they changed the smart contract address so that you were sending your crypto to like a fake address and you were screwed that way. So that is something that decentralized exchanges also have areas of vulnerability as well. Like they're probably not going to be holding your crypto, but in one of the big respects, the vulnerability of a decentralized exchange can be smart contracts or other things as well. So nothing is foolproof yet, but you definitely want to keep an eye on these things as well. And guys, if you are new to the channel by any chance, if you've never watched before, if you've been here forever, hit the subscribe button and the notify bell next to that. I would absolutely appreciate that. I do daily videos on the subject of crypto, and then outside of that, I do these YouTube live crypto happy hours a few different times a week when I can, between work and all the other stuff that goes on. So I would love to have you join. If you are subscribed, that is fantastic. And yeah, we can definitely go from there. So DM Typhon, thank you very much for that super chat. That is incredibly generous. Thanks for making me rich off Cardano. Well, I never give investment advice. I just talk about what I do. But yeah, I think we talked about Cardano at 3 cents. It's up to 70-something cents now. So that was a heck of a move earlier on. Will it continue to be a solid move? Who knows? But early on, that was definitely one heck of a move. If you're just going to comment stupid stuff in the comments, just shut up and get out of the comments, because you're just talking to a brick wall. So take a hike. But thank you very much, DM Ty. That is awesome. I probably butchered the pronunciation of your name, but that super chat is highly generous of you. So, and somebody said ADA has already mooned. Yeah, it has. And we can look at ADA right now. And again, it's up to 86 cents US dollar tether. In Bitcoin trading pairing, it's basically at an all-time high, pretty close to it. It's pretty much at an all-time high. When you're looking at it, when you're looking at something like Cardano right now, am I biased because I number one, have money in it, and because I also have done really well in it? Yeah, but I would also be very quick to say this coin is already mooned. Like, there's no way to say like Cardano hasn't mooned, and you're not going to get the same return that somebody else who got in November and got Cardano in November, you're not going to get that same level of, or I would doubt you're going to get that same level of return. So I'll say that. Do I think Cardano long-term is a really interesting project, and do I really like it? Absolutely. Absolutely. But I don't want to, set any false expectations there where, like, there's a lot of people that I think are just ridiculous, especially on, like, YouTube now, where it's like the hot thing is, like, a lot of people like Ripple now, and because Ripple has made a lot of people a ton of money, and Ripple's at whatever, $2.50, whatever. And now people are making videos saying Ripple's going to go to like $100. Like, no, cut me a break. Don't be an idiot. You're just trying to like build all these people up that don't know how the supply works of something like that. As I would also say, like, I personally, I mean, could it maybe be possible that you could see like $5 Cardano or $10 Cardano? Yeah, it might be in the might be possible, but like I'm not going to sit here and be like, yeah, Cardano is going to $5 tomorrow. It's going to $10. Like you're setting terrible expectations. It's already gone from 3 cents to 85 cents. That's ridiculous. And I think that's kind of I think that's ridiculous, and that's inappropriate for a lot of people to do. But, when you've gotten in at a point like 3 cents, or when you got in really early on, I think you're good off, and you have a good level of exposure. And I do think Cardano long-term is trending in a nice direction. So somebody said, I'm sure you get this a lot, but what are your thoughts on Tron Tech and charts? So what do we got? TRX, Binance. Tron's crushed it lately. I actually have a tiny bit of Tron, like a tiny non-material amount of Tron, but Tron really crushed it yesterday and is selling off today a decent amount, I think, with some of the Bitcoin run. But let's see if I can pull it up here. I mean, between Tron and Verge, those are like the two coins. It's funny because it always seems like there's a coin that is spiking and everybody wants to talk about. Like last month, it was IOTA. Everybody wanted to talk about IOTA. So last month it was IOTA. The beginning of this month, obviously Ripple, Verge, Tron. Like those are the hot ones that everybody always wants to talk about. So I'm looking at some of these chats here. So somebody said $10 is going to be the max price on ADA. Yeah, I mean, that would be a hell of a max price. I mean, that's still a 10x over a 10x from now. And I think even that is extremely aggressive. I mean, you're talking about a massive improvement on an already valuable crypto. So that is something that, I mean, but yeah, for sure. Lincoln K. Bobby is aggressive today. Always aggressive, man. Always aggressive. We're ready to roll. Somebody said only been around crypto this 1 month and it feels like 6. Yeah, things move in crypto faster than they move anywhere else. They move quick. It ages you. I feel like an old man right now. As I said before, I'm 47 years old. I feel like I'm, probably 67. $10 ADA would send me to the Riviera. Yeah, somebody said so many shill YouTubers saying ADA to $5 or $10 within this month. I mean, personally, if you have legitimate technical analysis or legitimate anything out there that can support that, then fine. And trust me, Cardano is my biggest bag right now. Outside of Bitcoin, Cardano is literally my biggest bag. And I'm up a significant amount on it, but I think it's irresponsible to tell anybody that something that's 80 cents right now is going to go up to $5 or $10 because there are, no offense, there are a lot of people out there that don't know a lot about crypto, and they'll hop over to Cardano and they'll see it's worth 22 billion bucks right now, or they'll see it's worth 88 cents, and they'll be like, wow, I can buy 1,000 Cardano for really cheap, and it's worth 88 cents. Meanwhile, they don't realize that the market capitalization is already 23 billion, and that for it to go up significantly, that's a massive movement in terms of the overall. That's a massive movement in terms of the billions of dollars that it's adding to the market capitalization, and I just think that that's irresponsible for a lot of people to do. But I also don't think a lot of people care. So that's just me. So. Yeah, I'm not 47. I'm 57. You look 47 today with that half-ass beard. Yo, this beard took me like 6 days to grow out. This is like, that's a full-on beard. That is a mountain man beard. You guys are just jealous that it took me like 6 days to grow that out. So, thoughts on Colex, bought $500 worth. That's 2.2 today. Nice move. Damn, that's a nice move. I don't know too much about Colex at all, so I need to do a little bit of research on these guys to see. Well, that's not the greatest thing when you go to the website, so I mean, I'm sure I could just pop through this, but I'll pass on it for right now if it says it's unsafe. But yeah, I mean, if you made profit, you made profit. What's it traded on? Trade Satoshi? I don't know. I don't know too much about Colex. Somebody said, Bobby, how do I get a girlfriend? I'm ugly. Will Bitcoin get me a girlfriend? If Bitcoin makes you enough money, I guess. I don't know. This isn't the dating channel. I'm not good at that. So looking at let's see here. Looking at some of these questions here. Somebody said, no, Bobby, 88 at $10 is not inconceivable, or isn't going to $10, but 250 is not inconceivable. Yeah, I'd hope not, because I'd make a ton of money if it does. But I don't like predicting on the price of crypto, and I don't also like. I just don't like goading people into. I'm not a fan of like goading people into. I think that if you throw out these ridiculous price predictions, you goat a lot of like unexperienced people or inexperienced people into crypto that are going to throw money into something that have no idea what they're putting their money into. And the only person that's going to benefit is not them, but that's going to benefit somebody like me or the people that were early on. And I wouldn't sleep well at night doing that. So. Crypto Supply, what crypto events are you doing this year? NAC3, I think, is doing, let's see, I don't know where they're doing their conferences for the rest. I got like an initial schedule here, but I'm actually going to be speaking, I believe, in New York City at NAC3. I don't have the initial, what's it called? I think I'm going to get a ticket referral link for that if you guys want. I think there's going to be price off tickets, but I should be speaking at NYC and LA for that. There's a couple other like conferences that I'm looking into potentially as well. So bring a buffalo chicken wrap to your next happy hour. I love that. I don't know if you guys want to watch me eating though. That doesn't sound too exciting. But I had pizza for the second night in a row, so JJ Sparks, can you please explain market cap and coin supply to the noobs? They keep parroting kin or pack at going to $1 in value. I mean, it's pretty simple. I mean, market capitalization is It's basically, I mean, at least on CoinMarketCap, it's the price of the said crypto asset times the circulating supply. But there's also a max supply as well, where some of these coins are pre-mined and they're held by whatever. So one thing that is interesting too on the other end of the spectrum is if you pop over to on-chain FX, granted they have less assets than some of the other crypto out there. But if you look also, they have a supply metric, so you can look at the quote-unquote year 2050 supply of how much supply is actually going to be available in the year 2050. So you can see like how many Bitcoin will be mined by 2050, see how many Ripple will be available, as well as like the percentage of supply issued right now. So you can see like, you know, something like Ripple, where do we got here? Let's look at available supply. So right now, like Ripple only has a 38% of its supplies available. Right now, almost 80% of Bitcoin has been mined at this point in time. 65% of Ethereum is available. So you can do the price. You obviously do the price times the available supply. That equals the current market capitalization. But a lot of these supplies are fluid. They're being mined and things like that. So a lot of people are saying RIP Verge. Let's see, is that legit or is this just people rooting for it? Well, let's see. So, I mean, we won't take the exact top. We'll just take the star. Yeah, so Verge down like 50%. It's going to be a lot of angry folks on that, but it's again, I mean, it pumped up. What do we have here? At one point in time, Verge pumped up 2,500%. I mean, that's crazy, which was why I was hesitant to buy into. I mean, that's a big move to buy into. But that's, I mean, when everybody's excited is when something pumps up 25%. You know, that's when you want to talk about it. And then, but then it has the propensity to drop like crazy. Thoughts on Stratus? If you're a noob, would you buy? I think there's other projects that to me are more appealing than Stratus. So there's other platforms out there that are a little bit more appealing than Stratus is to me. It hasn't pumped as hard as some of these other ones have in the past. So that is, I mean, Stratus pumped up to over $1 billion back in June in the like big crazy altcoin run back in June. Sold off pretty consistently, bottomed out mid-November or so, or actually mid-October when Bitcoin had its strong run, and is now kind of pumped up nicely since then. Pretty much at all-time highs at this point in time, but as far as playing Stratus over some of the other ones, it might be a decent value play, but it's not super incredibly appealing to me at this point in time, but I could, as always, could be totally wrong. Danny, I see you've asked Bobby, who is BitConnect scammed. I don't know if BitConnect has scammed anybody, but maybe you in the future if you want to keep asking that question 7,000 times. So looking at some more of these questions here. So somebody says, Bobby, please help us understand this. What does market capitalization have to do with the price not being able to reach a certain point? I mean, that simply has to do with you can have something with an incredibly high supply. It's going to take a lot more money to get to reach a certain point. So, people talk about Ripple being worth $100. In my mind, Ripple will never be worth $100 because the circulating supply right now is 38 billion. So if Ripple is worth $100, you're talking about a $3.8 trillion cryptocurrency. That is significantly significant. That is like over 10 times more valuable than Bitcoin right now. So just because the price of Ripple is $2.50 does not mean that it is less. Like that's, you got to study that to kind of go through that process and understand it. Bitcoin crashing. Let's see. Yep. Oh. Looks like Bitcoin's taking that dip under 15 Gs. Pretty interesting time. Ooh, wow. Cardano's crossing. Holy crap. Wow. Looks like we're looking at ETH. Yep. That's crazy. All right, guys. Well, I've been going on here for about an hour, 45 minutes, so I am going to hang out for a little bit of time and get some rest. But I really do appreciate everybody's time. Again, stay tuned for a recorded video tomorrow, as well as I should be coming back with another YouTube Live Crypto Happy Hour tomorrow night, so I really do appreciate that. Well, looks like we have one more question here. So at what price will you buy more Cardano after a correction, if a correction will be coming soon? Cardano keeps going up. I'd love to buy more, but it's not going down at this point in time, so I'm not going to buy on this heavy movement up. If it goes down to like 50 cents again, I'll probably buy in more. But as of right now, I mean, it's just crushed it. So, yeah, it has, I mean, for the time being, I'm kind of waiting back at this point. So if it goes down to like 60, 50 cents, that might be super appealing for me. But for the time being, I'm holding off buying more just because I'm as exposed as I want to be. But thank you guys so much for your time. I really do appreciate it. Hope you had a great day, great night, wherever you're watching in from. Stay tuned again tomorrow for another recorded video and then a YouTube Live Crypto Happy Hour. Thank you guys so much. Take it easy. Peace.